Hey, what's up, guys? So, this is a video just giving some insight, some observations about the recent changes from the government, which were announced last Monday. It is important always to caveat when I deliver observations that I am not an immigration lawyer. This does not constitute immigration advice and is purely for the purposes of education. I have had numerous people ask my opinion about this, which I haven't given because I wanted to kind of get some information myself. And then also had a comment here, which came on our last video. For those of you who've watched our channel since 2020, you'll notice that our focus has more been towards just general hiring and moving away from international students. And it's an area that I've worked in since 2013. So if you're not familiar with the changes, they would have come out from BBC News, always covers it really well, and they sort of break it down. So how is the government's immigration policy changing? What are the new immigration rules? So we changed to a points-based system. A little bit of history for you, really, in that some of you may remember this, our happy camper, which was Theresa May. Here's Boris Johnson with Theresa May. So all the way back in 2010, which this is an article from Migration Watch UK, which is more on the spectrum of, kind of migration is not good for the UK, and there are various think tanks around this. I don't particularly have an opinion, but something that kind of was touted from 2010 and was in David Cameron's election manifesto was to drive immigration down to less than 100,000 people, which mathematically was proven to be almost impossible to do, and was a real kind of blanket sort of arbitrary figure. Very much, David Cameron said, if we haven't done this by 2015, you should get rid of us, and they didn't do it by 2015 because it's basically impossible. Boris Johnson actually then axed Theresa May's sort of big slogan. Those of you who are familiar or don't have a British passport will probably not feel fondly around Theresa May. I didn't particularly, because it just seemed like a lot of blundering about from her point of view, though I don't envy her job by any means. But Boris Johnson moved over to the points-based system, PBS, in 2017. And now we've got this real sort of sweeping change that's come out. And a lot of people would have been caught by this. They will need to earn at least £38,700. This is up by nearly 50% from the current minimum salary of £26,200. Now, first of all, a really important thing to note is that this is not the law. These are changes that have been suggested and will then be written into law in spring 2024. So we're kind of looking at March 2024 when these changes will come into effect. So, the quickest sort of thing to recognize is, if you can get a job before March 2024, then you better get your skates on, because the chances are that this is going to happen. Now, there is a lot of change happening within government. I'm not particularly au fait with politics. I really make it a habit to not watch the news because I just kind of get on with my life and, the businesses that I'm involved in. But what I would say is it really comes as no surprise that these sweeping change comes when the next UK general election is going to be in 2025. This is very much the sort of, either just before general election or just after, which was, kind of that 2-year period before or year after. Immigration is always the hot topic. Why? Because, British people are unhappy and they need money. Now, one thing I would say is that the legislation itself does not appear on the face of it to offer really what is the systemic problem, which is we need to upskill our youth. We need to upskill British young people and actually get them into jobs, so people aren't getting degrees and they can't even get a job in McDonald's. That's really the point of view from a Brit. Just looking at it really objectively and having some interactions with young people who are woefully underprepared and underskilled for the workforce. So if we look into this a little bit further, and one thing that I'd always recommend is just looking and seeing what the law firms say. That's really important. Of course, law firms will put together sort of hot takes about this to then drive new business. And I really like this article from Davidson Morris, which went down and kind of dropped this, pretty specifically. So something that a lot of people will be wondering is, and this came up in the question, which is, what is a new entrant? So the question was specifically, do you think employers will be offering graduate programs to international students? Firms offer max 32k per annum. So how will international students deal with this? Heard graduate suppliers, new entrants. Where does this rule not apply? Is it? One thing that I would always say to people is always do your homework. This information is freely available. I do not possess a better skill set than anybody watching this video, but I am always driven to try to do my homework and just do some cursory reading, which I've done for maybe an hour before I thought I'd film this video for you. So, Davidson Morris, defines a new entrant, which is basically, so these are a new entrant to the labour market is essentially somebody who's under 26 years old and has not had a previous visa, right? So they're basically somebody who has trained in some form or fashion, has gone for a degree, and is then joining the UK labour market. So this is defined as being sponsored in a postdoctoral research position or working towards professional qualifications, chartered status, or registration, which would indicate if you're studying for some sort of professional qualification, then you're fine. These rules really do not apply to you. Where it will become difficult is where you're not studying towards a professional qualification. Now, the burden of our work has always lent itself towards professional services, financial services, and investment banking, because these are solid staples of the British economy. They are something that is not going away, and they also represent some sort of formalized or professional training, which kind of allows you to a certain extent, be exempt from a lot of the immigration stuff that's going on. So that's kind of the big thing about that. There are lots of other things to discuss. For example, not being able to bring over dependents, what it's doing to the shortage occupation list. Also based upon the Migration Advisory Committee has talked about looking into whether the graduate route visa is being abused. And I must say, that's probably from an employer's perspective, not from a student's perspective. We continue to have very little definition around the graduate route visa. So something that people don't really talk about is employers will not openly say, we will accept a graduate route visa, we won't accept a graduate route visa, we will accept a graduate route visa for this position. The consistent difficulty as an international student is that there is no clarity in terms of what you're going to be doing are based upon applying for an employer by employer basis, which is why we've always used the metric of just applying to Times Top 100 companies, because probably they can sort it out, right? Either they have their own internal legal teams, the Big Four is a very good example of this, or they have the money to pay to get the best people to navigate the position for international students. I think that's kind of my sort of hot take about it. Like I said, this does not constitute immigration advice. This is purely just my opinion based upon my experience of working within that for the last 10 years. I must say, on a personal note, I find it incredibly disheartening. I think it's not a positive for British people. I certainly don't think it's a positive for international students or international professionals. We continue to be unable to satisfy skill shortages across numerous industries. The solution to me seems like some sort of skills program where money can be used from immigration to upskill our own workforce. What is completely, devoid from this that I could see was any kind of, thought thinking of the immigration minister, who I believe has now resigned because of Rwanda, basically said, "Oh, when posed by business, and I must point out, business is highly resistant to this, and it was exactly the case in 2015 with Theresa May." Through to 2017, because business knows that we need skilled people from other countries. The immigration minister, in his infinite wisdom, when asked by, big business, well, how are we going to satisfy the skill shortage, turned around and said, "Oh, we'll just get British people to do it." I mean, if that was the case, then we wouldn't have had the same problem that we've had for well over 20 years, which is, some crucial skill shortages, which would certainly not help from us leaving the EU. Guys, let me know what you think about this video. I just wanted to put some thoughts together that I can also share with people who are interested. Thank you for asking me. I claim no expertise. I'm perfectly happy to be corrected upon such a matter, and I wish you all the best. Thank you.